Okay, let's call to order the monthly meeting of the Traverse Bay Area Intermediate School District Board of Education. Dr. Seglarek, would you please call the roll?
Brown.
Here.
Berge.
Here.
Carpenter.
Here.
Shear.
Here.
Tank.
I'm here.
Fisher.
Here.
And Ms. McKellar is absent.
Okay, would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is this the point where you wanted to jump in, Dr. Seglarek?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Appreciate that. I want to just do a brief introduction on the consent agenda. We're very happy to present to you a recommendation to hire Ryan Jarvie as our Director of Communication. Ryan is actually currently the press secretary for the Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel. And prior to that, he was journal editor at the Mining Journal in Marquette. He has a wide range of experiences. He impressed our committee with his calm demeanor and quick wit. And so we're excited with, of course, your approval to have him be a part of our team. And so I'll just leave it at that. And I know it's at consent, and Ryan will not be able to stay on for very long because he's working and there's a lot of things happening. So.
Welcome to Ryan. Did he intend to be seen and not heard, or heard and not seen, or neither?
And I'm interested in this quick wit. Does he have a joke to tell us or anything?
Well,
I want to see if it's true.
Well, Dr. Seglarek said I was calm demeanor. I don't know. I feel a little nervous and jumpy on this one. It's a pleasure to meet all of you virtually. I hope we can meet in person at some point. But really, I'm just grateful for the opportunity and to be at this part in the process. I felt privileged to be considered and move on to the next stage in the interview and to be here as the final candidate. And it's something I didn't expect in my career, but ultimately I'm here to serve at your pleasure, at the administration's pleasure, and just try to support the ISD and its mission. I think everybody's here for the same reasons, to just kind of educate who we need to educate and help the students out there. So if anybody has questions, I can try to answer them for you, but no jokes at this point, maybe.
Yeah, we only have one board member that asked questions and he vowed not to tonight, so I'm not quite sure what. Okay, come on, Jason, you must have one.
Nope, I don't. But Marquette is a lovely place. What would drive you south of Marquette?
Work, really. I think my my wife and I, we've been married about 3.5 years, and we started to think about family. And when we got pregnant, started to look around a little bit harder at jobs, things that had opened more doors for me. So that took us down to Lansing here, and again, Traverse City area is where we really want to stay and live. It's a great place to raise a family. My wife's parents are up in Alden, so close by. We'll probably be living with them for a little while, but hope to set up roots there in the area.
Yeah, well, you should ask Nick about that. That's a fun thing to do, isn't it?
It can be done. You bet.
Hey, it's nice to meet you. Congratulations.
Anyone else? Ryan, we're glad to have you. Wish you all the best and smooth sailing, we hope. So thanks a lot. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
I think I messed this up. I was supposed to do this later, but at this point, we need a recommendation to approve the agenda. as presented?
I'd make that a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll support.
There's a motion and support. Is there discussion? If not, would you call the roll, Dr. Silveric, please?
Brown,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Tank,
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We're at that point. It's my pleasure to welcome anyone that might be out there, either watching the meeting progress or that would care to address the board. It's public comment, and be happy to hear from you. Would ask that you, if you don't mind, give us your name and maybe the district from which you come. Do we have anyone, Renee or Brandy or?
Hi, Mr. Fisher. No, I have not heard from anybody that wanted to, but there are a number of people on tonight if they would like to do that right now.
Well, welcome once again. Glad they're taking the time out of their schedule to be with us. So let's move on to item 2. March reading month is student presentation. Where do I go with this one?
Well, I guess I'll start it off. And Carol, I don't know if you want to take it over, or Rena or Lisa, who are here to present, but we all understand the critical importance of literacy with our students, and really promoting the importance of reading. And I think our staff does a phenomenal job of doing that. But this month in particular, we focus on it. We heighten the awareness with our parents and our students on the importance of reading, and really reading within all of our populations. It's critically important. And so what I'll do is I guess I'll just turn it over to Carol to introduce, and then we'll go from there.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nick. I am just honored every day to work with the educators that I do. And when I realized we had an opportunity to present during reading month, I knew that I wanted to ask someone from New Campus and someone from Life Skills, because they are so creative in the way they address literacy and demonstrate that students of all sorts have great capacity. So I'm going to call on Lisa, because she's the first one that I see. Lisa is the supervisor at New Campus School, which is right downstairs here from the main administration building. Lisa?
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm going to be sharing my screen in just a second. We know March is reading month, and actually when we talked about it with our students, we had a 5th grader who co-authored a book I'm going to share with you in a moment say, but every month is reading month, Mrs. Klepper. And I said, I know, it's true. So we're just trying to cultivate that love of language and literacy. And so March is reading month because of Dr. Seuss. And so the elementary are really focusing on The Cat in the Hat. And it's surprising to us how many students haven't heard that book or can say the words like most of our children could. So part of their assignment was not only to read The Cat in the Hat with their reading buddy, but to also do a mirror piece of work, because a lot of our students have a difficult time engaging in that text that's kind of that third person. They're more motivated to read things that they have written themselves and that their peers have written for them. And so we're going to combine a couple of things. I love to do dramatic readings at staff meetings. So I'm going to do a dramatic reading for you all of the story written by Aiden and Jason. So let me just share my screen, hopefully. I may need a hand from Brandy. Okay, well, my screen is not sharing.
You should have screen share capabilities as a co-host at the bottom.
When I click it, it just says Dropbox and Microsoft OneDrive. So this is what we're going to do, because this happens all the time in real life, is I'm going to do a dramatic reading for you all, and you're going to create visuals for the things in the sentences that I am saying. And then at some point, maybe we can embed this into the notes so you can see it. So based off the Cat in the Hat, this is called The Kids in the Socks. So here we go. Page 1. We can read in a tent. We can read when we are bent. Side note, Gage's legs are bent in this picture. He is writing his own book. They are reading in a nook. We can read in many ways, but we will fall asleep if we read all day. Big kids read to take a break. Just read a book, for goodness sake. By Jason and Aiden. I will share that the pictures are pretty fantastic. They went around the school with an old school digital camera that we found, which some kids refer to as an antique. And they took pictures of kids around the school, and then they added clip art photos. What the teachers thought was super funny is that our kids are well versed on visual schedules, because at the very end it says the end with a big red stop sign. So you know the book is over. Thanks for letting me share that with you, and hopefully I'll be able to get you the visual soon.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Lisa. And Rena. Rena is the supervisor at Life Skills Center and serves the population roughly age 18 to 26 who are transitioning to the next stage after education.
And I'm having some help from Brandy Reynolds, as she is going to share PowerPoint with you. And at Life Skills Center, reading takes on a whole different twist. Reading instruction, it doesn't look as typical reading instruction does in an elementary or junior high or high school. So we are really focused on very functional reading, and it could range from whatever your student needs to do to or our student needs to do to be functional in life. So reading could be being read to for a leisure activity. It could be reading for yourself. It could be reading a novel. It could be reading, basic knowledge books. Have you got it, Brandy?
I think so. Can you see my screen?
No. I can see your screen.
But others can.
Isn't that nice?
Sorry.
Does everybody else see it though?
Yes. And I have Sarah up.
Sorry.
Would you ready?
That's funny. Okay, so go ahead. And so Sarah Ulrey is going to start. So I'm doing this blind. I love technology, but we have to be creative. So I'm Sarah Ulrey is our department chair, and I enlisted some staff members to help out and some students. So go ahead, Brandy, with the first video.
Let me know you can hear the audio with thumbs up, please.
So when we look at literacy and reading on Transition Campus, we are really using it with a functional scope. So we look at our transition domains, and those are going to be employability, community participation, independent living, and recreation and leisure. And then we look at what functional reading.
So go ahead. So Brandy, you're gonna help me out, and I don't know why I'm not seeing those. I really apologize for this. I don't know why I'm not seeing it myself. So go ahead to the next slide.
So when we look
So the next slide is Clayton, and Clayton Silk is a student from Elk Rapids, Bel Air area, and he.
I'm going to read Harry Potter in the gym. Come join me. Don't forget your mask because of this COVID thing.
So Clayton reads to the gym, was reading to our students, and he would read in a classroom prior to COVID. And now that he can't read in the classroom, he's had to move to the gym. And then students will come into the gym and maybe gets about 4 or 5. So his audience isn't as great as before, but it's not daunting to him at all. He will read no matter who's there. He will read Harry Potter to them right now. So go ahead with the next one, Randy. For a long time, and you love Harry Potter books.
I do like Harry Potter books. They're awesome.
What Harry Potter books have you read?
I've read all of them when I was a kid.
Nice.
And I already read the first 3 Harry Potter books: Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And now I'm reading this one, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Excellent. I know those are really good books. When you go to work, what types of things do you have to read when you're at work? Not books, but other things. Does reading help you at work?
Sometimes, like when I read tags.
Tags, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's right. What else do you read at work?
Sometimes I also read the sides of boxes.
Right, right. Do you think reading has helped you have a job?
Yes, it has.
Okay, great. All right, well,
Don't
thank
you think so?
I think so. I absolutely think it's super important.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. Go ahead, Brandy. Clayton,
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Okay, where are you in the book?
I'm right here on chapter 31.
All right, well, go ahead. I wanted to get a little recording of you. And Clayton is into dramatic reading too, Lisa. I think you'd appreciate it.
The shapeshifter exploded into a wisp of smoke. The silver stag faded from sight. Harry wished it could have stayed. He could have used some company, but he moved on as quickly and quietly as possible, listening hard as one held high once more. Left, right, left again. Left, right, left again. And twice he found himself facing dead ends. He did the 4-point spell again and found that he was going too far east. He turned back, took a right turn, and saw an odd golden mist floating ahead of him. Harry approached it cautiously and pointed the wand's beam at it. This looked like some kind of enchantment. He wondered whether he might be able to blast it out of the way. He said. The spell shot straight through the mist, leaving it intact. He was supposed to have known better. The reducer curse was full of solid objects. It would have happened if he walked. What would happen if he walked through the mist? Was it worth chancing it, or should he be back, or should he double back? He was still hesitating when a scream shattered the silence. Flirl! Harry yelled. Oh, there was silence. He stared all around him. What would happen to her? Her scream seemed to have come from somewhere ahead. He took a deep breath and ran through the enchanted mist. The world turned upside down. Harry was hanging from the ground with his hair on end, his glasses dangling off his nose, threatening to fall into the bottomless sky. He clutched them to the end of his nose and hung there terrified. He felt as though his...
Right, thanks, Brandy. And in the interest of time, I think the next slide I'm just going to talk just quickly about, and then we'll advance to the next one. So the next slide just shows that we use reading for recipes, ingredients, grocery ads, mail, reading written directions, following directions, safety signs, community signs, navigating grocery stores, navigating maps. So we use it in very functional ways. And this is just happened to walk into the bakery today, and they were doing a cooking lesson. So they were just using a recipe on with chocolate cookies. So we're going to skip by that one, and then the next slide should be Sergey. And Sergey talks a little bit about how he's using reading to do a research project on the Mackinac Bridge. And then if you skip to the next one, Brandy, it should be a picture of Sarah Dowd, a classroom teacher who is doing an instructional lesson with our students with severe multiple and cognitive impairment. And I think that it's really, really a great example of how to integrate reading at all levels and how it goes across our areas of instruction. So go ahead with that. You.
All right, you guys, I'm just going to start here.
No more.
So our core word today. So we are going to read a book about with the word E in it. He does not like some noise that he hears. So let's look. We're going to look up here and we're going to read a book. Here we go. It's called No More Noisy Nights.
Written by Holly L. Niner and illustrated by Guy Wallach. All right, let's get started. Jackson worked hard all day moving into his new house. After dinner, he relaxed, and at 9 o'clock, he climbed into bed.
Oh, what did he do? What did he do? He worked hard all day. All day he worked hard. So let's move it. Turn the page.
When he heard. Oh dear, Jackson said. There must be a ghost in the attic. I hope this noise stops soon. But it didn't.
Oh, he wants to stop. He heard something, and he did not like it. No, he did not like it. Holly, you want to turn the page? Holly, turn the page.
So Jackson stuffed his ears with cotton balls and tried to sleep. The next morning.
All right, thank you. So the board that Sarah is holding on to is our core vocabulary board. And just if you ever hear of the core vocabulary initiative, that's an example of a communication style for our students who are nonverbal, and we're working very hard on helping them improve their communication skills through use of a core vocabulary board. So, yeah, I think we're set. So, thank you.
Well, thank you, Lisa and Raina, for presenting, and please pass those thanks on to your students and your staff as well. You know, I keep in my office here a thank you note. If you remember Austin Darga, who worked hard on the therapy animal policy, and he was just so excited when we were able to pilot a program that he wrote a thank you note, and it's in Braille. And it's just a great reminder that of the wildly talented students we have all across the spectrum. And so we're just so thankful for recognizing that, and appreciate them celebrating March as Reading Month. And you're right, Lisa, every month is Reading Month, but particularly in March, we highlight it.
Questions of Raina or Lisa from board members? Thanks very much. Appreciate it. We'll move on to action items and the consent grouping. The recommendation is to approve the consent grouping as presented. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, and then I'll second it.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Go ahead, Dr. Squire, if you would, please.
Brown?
Yes.
Berge?
Yes.
Carpenter?
Yes.
Shear?
Yes.
Tank?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item B, extension of supervisor director contracts. Dr. Savary?
Yeah, during our March meeting, we present to you an opportunity to extend for 1 year the extension of our supervisor and director contracts. Any of the evaluation process that takes place, it doesn't sequence just perfectly, but I can assure you that any evaluator or any director or supervisor that we're working with in an evaluation would be held off until it is complete if there was anything in question. So I'm proud to present that full slate to you for your approval for a 1 year extension.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
There's a motion and support. Discussion. There being no discussion, Dr. Savary, would you call the roll, please?
Brown,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Tank,
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, recommendation on board policies. Again, Dr. Savary.
Yeah, this is a second reading and adoption for the board policies that we presented to you last month. The only item of note that I would draw your attention to, Troon did provide us with an updated, there's been a lot of moving parts with board meetings, virtual, hybrid, and the requirements that exist that schools must adopt. So there were some last minute adjustments that we highlighted for you in your packet. The only other thing that I would say on the horizon is that it was just issued today with a new epidemic order that does allow for in-person meetings for the Board of Education to start after March 5th. I would suggest that, again, the capacity issue, depending on the size of the room that you're able to have, would be around 25. And so we'll still be in a situation where we'll be offering hybrid. I would offer and suggest that to President Fisher and the board. But other than that, all the policies are as they were from the first read.
I'd make the motion to approve the policies that we've reviewed.
I'll support.
All right, we have a motion and support. Do we have a discussion? Questions, anything? Go ahead, Dr. Savary, call the roll, please.
Brown,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Tank,
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item D, here we go again, AECOM 2021 project tab. Linda, go ahead.
Thank you, President Fisher. Yes, this is our annual request for the project on the Pine Grove subdivision. The anticipated cost is $79,079, just slightly higher than the last year. And that anticipated cost would be less our insurance reimbursement.
Need a motion and a support, please.
I'll make the motion.
Support.
All right, thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Jim. We have a motion support discussion, please. Go ahead, Dr. Savary.
Brown,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Tank,
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Recommendation SEL Web Regional Training Contract. Matt Olson, please.
Thank you, President Fisher. Actually, I would just like to talk a little bit about E&F, if I may. These are related in the sense that we've been undergoing some efforts here for some time to implement some social emotional learning supports for our district for our districts regionally, as well as our internal ISD folks. We've had a committee working on this for some time. And the rollout has actually begun in implementation of two primary products. the SEL Web, which is a assessment tool to assess students' social emotional learning, and then SSIS, which is a combination. There's assessment as well as curriculum that can be used to fill in gaps and so forth. They're identified through the assessment itself. And so we had an opportunity with 31N funding, a categorical funding from the state that's allocated to the ISD for our region, to engage in some contracts to basically bring the rollout to scale. So the first piece here on letter E is related specifically to the SEL Web training contract with Clark McCown. Our intention is to enter a new contract with him for $20,000 over the next calendar year to support the rollout and really take it full scale to the region, training administrators, teachers, and those who would be involved in that. The second, if I can just give that explanation, is the SSIS with Steve Elliott. Same basic deal. I would note only one of the two actually reaches the threshold for bringing to the board for a formal approval, but we thought really because they were tied together from the same funding and for similar purposes, that just made sense to bring both. So just wanted to give you that explanation as to why that's there. So that's the letter E and F, but I'll entertain any questions as you have them, of course.
Thank you.
Great. Let's take them one at a time, and we'll go to E first. Is there a motion and a support, please?
I'd make the motion to approve.
Support.
Discussion. Questions of Matt?
Hey, Matt, I have a question. I broke my rule, so I owe Joe some money. Although I didn't know how much you wagered, so I'm just going to jump in. Can you kind of give me like a tangible example of how the SEL thing is actually used by teachers or whoever? Like, how what does it actually do? Like, what is the main purpose of it?
It's actually quite interesting. It's a lot of times we rely on surveys to try to ascertain where kids are at and how they're feeling and to kind of assess mental health. The nature of SEL Web is that it's not a survey. It's actually a test in the sense that they perform tasks. Like to give an example, like it's an adaptive test. So you've got like a question that'll come up on the screen, and it'll give rocket ships that are launching, and one goes very quickly and one goes very slowly. And what it really is doing at that point is trying to see, can they persevere, in a task. And so it's things like that, kind of like taking an IQ test in that sense, where it's more tangible tasks to get at where they're at. So of course they'll go through this assessment, and then it gives teachers data on the kids' capabilities, the kids kind of where they're at in regard to a number of different tangible social emotional skills. And so, that data is then used to deploy curriculum, which is that second app, that SSIS, to try to address kids' needs where they are. So
how are the kids who are taking these adaptive tests like identified? Like what type of child or student is involved in this?
It's actually a universal screener, Jason, where we would give it to literally every child. And so that's part of why the rollout is important, because it really is a universal screener in that sense.
And at what age are we using this screen?
All grades. It actually goes from elementary all the way up into secondary. We're focusing right now on middle school and elementary, but I believe it can be used through high school.
And this will be across the entire region?
Yes.
And every kid will take it at some point during the year, and then from there, there's going to be a curriculum adjustment or other supports coming in.
That's certainly the hope. Of course, ultimately, districts need to opt in, but at this point, I believe, I want to be careful not to speak too out of turn here, but I believe just about all are in at some level. There's some districts who've been with it a little longer, and others who are just now getting in on the back end. But it's had really good reception around the region for kind of obvious reasons, where this is a major issue these days, more so magnified by the pandemic. So we felt like
that's pretty great, pretty amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Seglark, would you call the roll, please?
Brown,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Tank,
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
And item F, that's, Matt, did you want to weigh in anymore, or are we good with that?
I think I'll let it stand if that's okay. If there's other follow-ups, of course, but yeah, it kind of went together.
Great, thank you. Need a motion to support then.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support.
All right, discussion. Go ahead, Dr. Square.
Brown,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Tank,
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Item
Thank you
G,
all.
contract with Deb Hale, audiologist. Carol?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, board members. This is a request to amend the contract with the audiologist, Deb Hale. In the fall, you approved a contract for up to $45,000 for 89 days, and it was previously a contract with Munson, and that service was no longer available to us. So this year, 10 additional students with hearing impairments were identified and required the services of an audiologist. So when we look at the rest of the year, students would need another 12 days of service, upping the contract another $5,851.
We're adding that amount?
We're adding that amount for an additional 12 days of service to service 10 students who've been added to the roles.
Got it. Thank you. I need a motion.
I'd make the motion to approve.
Support.
Discussion or further questions of Carol? Go ahead, Dr. Segler.
Brown,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Tank,
Yes. Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Discussion items, Roman numeral 4. Nothing? Very well, we'll move on to item 5. Information items.
Per described outlined in law, we are to come to you every month for a reconfirmation of our instructional delivery model with our COVID preparedness response plan and our extended continuity of learning plan. We are not recommending any changes to that plan, and so therefore does not need any action. And I'm happy to report that this month's attendance is over 95%.
Oh, great. Wow.
Good to hear.
I have a question for Nick.
Sure, go ahead, Jason.
Hey, Nick, if in a circumstance where a positive case is in a classroom and a teacher, a vaccinated educator was with, previous to the vaccination would be considered a close contact. Have we changed that view because they're vaccinated where they're no longer considered close contact?
So in consultation with the health department and our medical professionals, we've been informed that once the individual is fully vaccinated, and that takes place 2 weeks after the second dose, once that takes place, then a vaccinated individual that is a close contact of a positive case does not need to quarantine unless they're exhibiting symptoms.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Segler, you still have the floor with updates.
Great. Just a couple things. I wanna just provide kudos to our prepared team. There is, as you are aware, we have teams within our intermediate school district that, upon occasion, our locals or even our own circumstances require that they respond. And there was recently in one of our local districts a tragedy, a loss of a staff member, and got a very nice complimentary note from our local school superintendent. And I'd just like to publicly recognize, obviously, Carol and her leadership, but then also the prepared team and the response was so appreciative. So I wanted to make sure, the superintendent wanted to make sure the board was aware, and I want to make sure that we recognize Melinda Gardner, Elizabeth Machik, am I saying that correct, Carol?
Masick?
Masick, thank you. Jim Core, Aaron Campbell, Allie Fitzgibbon, and Greg Meyer. They happen to be the ones that responded, and I'll just read the note. Please let your staff and board know how much we appreciate the support today. I am visiting the building right now, and the emotional support for our students and our staff from the following staff has been exemplary. So just kudos, and appreciate what they've done and continue to do to support our local districts. I also want to just make the board aware, you've probably heard the announcement from the governor's office that they have reinstituted the Student Recovery Advisory Council, and they're going to be providing recommendations to our legislature and the governor's office on how we can continue to address the needs of our students during this pandemic. And specifically, there are targeted areas that they've developed some subcommittees on. We have pretty good representation. We have some of our local school soups. In fact, Dr. Van Wagner is going to be chairing the innovation subcommittee. And I just want to let you know that I'm on the policy and budget committee. That's going to a subcommittee that's going to be providing some recommendations around in those specific areas. And so we'll keep you posted as that work moves forward. We only had one meeting. I would anticipate that the intensity of the meetings are going to ratchet up. I also want to let the board know, as I did in the board letter, that we want to thank and honor the Front Street Writers, in the National Writer Series. We had a great partnership, and we're going to continue to use that resource. They are reprioritizing certain aspects of their program, and so they're going to be stepping away a bit. And I know Pat and his team are going to be working hard to evaluate and reinvent that important program that we have, and use them as a support where we can and where it's needed. And then the last thing I wanted to just mention is that the Senate just passed, as of 5:48, changes to a House supplemental around the epidemic order. So the Senate passed 3 supplemental appropriations bills that contains federal coronavirus relief of about $4.25 billion, but they've also attached some pretty significant strings to that. Specifically, they're trying to require local health departments and not the state be the ones that would be able to close schools with limiting epidemic orders. It's anticipated this probably will not be welcomed and received by the governor's office. And so the question around a veto is looming. And so again, the funding is super important. Our message has been, we need to provide it to our local schools and not have it be a political football. And we want to just make sure that our schools have the appropriate funding that the federal government has already allocated in the tune of billions of dollars. And we just want to see it in the hands of our local school leaders to make those decisions on programming for our students. So unless there are questions, that's all I have, President Fisher.
Thank you, Dr. Skwarik. Well, there may be reports or requests because we're on the item room number 7, board member reports and requests. Are there any?
I just want to share that on Friday at 1 o'clock, I will be hosting Representative John Roth with Dr. Siglarik and Pat. I'm not sure who else, but we're going to tour the ISD. You're going to start at the Career Tech Center. And we've talked about this for a while, but it's going to happen this Friday.
Great.
Good. Yeah, good deal.
Anyone else? Dates to remember, spring break. Any comment further on that, Dr. Siglarik or anyone? No? Okay. All right. We're at the adjournment, and so we are. Be safe, everyone.
And you too. Good
Thanks.
deal.
Have a great,
Thank you,
have a
everyone.
great, have a
See you
great
later.
spring break too.
See you later, everyone. Yeah, have a good break.